without further ado, we'll start with Dylan Steen. He's going to present High Enroll.
Thank you very much, and a very generous thank you to all of you for inviting me. I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Chedapali out of Panera. We had a bunch of mutual friends, and so I really appreciate the opportunity now to extend that relationship. Are you all able to see my slides? Okay, great. So I'm going to be talking about High Enroll. High Enroll is an LLC. We're based here in Cincinnati. We use centric solutions for research participant enrollment. As you all know, this is the #1 operational problem in all of clinical research, and it's certainly the most expensive problem. And so it's a very important problem for a startup to focus on. I currently serve as its CEO, and I'm also a co-founder. This is our team. So a little bit about myself there on the left. I am a cardiologist. I'm a formally trained clinical trialist and epidemiologist. I did my training at the TIMI Study Group, which many of you may know. It's a very large academic research organization doing global pharma-funded trials. My co-founder is Ginger Conway, who is a research nurse manager here at UC for over 20 plus years. And we had the classic story of wanting to solve our own problem, solve the problem that was faced by all our colleagues across institutions every single day. Below her is Dr. Deepak Bhatt, who needs no introduction. He's arguably the world's most successful clinical trialist. He's with 2,000 PubMed publications, over 50 plus New England Journal of Medicine papers. He now serves as on our board. We go to Matt Borst. Matt Borst is our Chief Technical Officer. We are very lucky to have Matt. He is an experienced entrepreneur with a number of successful exits. His most successful company is probably Dotloop. As he says, if you bought a house in the last 10 years, you probably used his product. He's really excellent, leads our innovation team. Below him is my cousin, Joel Barbihan, also an experienced startup executive. Joel was part of SparkPost. That company had a massive exit last year for $600 million. It was acquired by MessageBird. He's a lawyer. He serves as our revenue officer. If you look there in the upper right, that's Cliff Browning. We were lucky to find Cliff. He has over 25 years in healthcare sales, mostly in the IT software sector, a very senior person to lead that effort. And then below Cliff is Mina Bush. We're very lucky to have her. She came to us from Cincinnati Children's Hospital, the #2 pediatric hospital in the country. She built their research education outreach programs. And now she serves as the direct contact and true partner for all the research teams we support. They always have someone now who speaks their own language and understands their problems. Bit of background, this group is familiar, but I just go over it. So in an example of the pharmaceutical industry, companies like AstraZeneca pay the bill for their studies. Now, these companies do not recruit the participants needed for the studies. What they do is they contract with what we call sites, could be University of Cincinnati or Vanderbilt, you name it. And basically these sites, their #1 job is to recruit the participants. Now, there are many stakeholders at the sites, and most of these are healthcare organizations. The companies, in order to incentivize this behavior, basically pay these sites per participant recruited. There's a lot of motivation to do well. The challenge right now is that sites are not capturing their potential for enrollment, and it has massive downstream consequences. So we did an audit of this when I was at TIMI. There have been other data published on this, but only about 1 to 3 healthcare providers at a site are aware of and engaged in a specific study's enrollment. And these are typically the PI and a couple of co-Is that are formally trained either by the ARO, the CRO, or the manufacturer. At sites in the US, 37% don't meet minimum enrollment goals. So these are hand-picked sites, and they may be contracted to enroll 10 participants, but they don't even enroll the minimum of 2. And that's 2 out of 5. Sites actually enroll so poorly that the vast majority of research teams out there run in the red. They're actually in financial jail at their sites, and in many cases cannot cover their own internal expenses. Poor site performance impacts the pharmaceutical device industry greatly. 80% of studies currently don't meet enrollment deadlines. There are massive cost implications to this. There are also massive lost revenue opportunities. For each day of delay to FDA approval, companies lose on average $8 million a day in revenue. Enrollment can produce multi-year delays. If you look at this figure, right now we are in a 1 to 3 provider engaged model, typically MD, PI focused, but we really want to bring in these other groups and really help sites capture their recruitment potential. This is our innovation approach. It's disciplined, it's intentional, and it's stepwise. So briefly here, we focus first on trying to make it easy for our product to be adopted by the sites. That includes making sure that they can pay for it, making sure they can contract with us, making sure it's very easy to use for research managers and coordinators. The next part is we focus on provider adoption. How can we get common docs and common nurses to bring research, awareness, enrollment into their workflows? And then finally, and you'll hear about it now, this is brand new, hot off the presses, we're focused on patient adoption here. How do we, now that we've armed research teams and providers with everything they need, get the patients that flow through these sites engaged as well? If we can solve the challenges for sites, the providers that work at them, and the patients that flow through them, we now have supercharged sites which solve the sponsor issue. We have been in the marketplace for almost 2 years. If you look on the left-hand side, we have an open mobile app platform for healthcare providers of all types, not just docs, but nurses, pharmacists, MAs, you name it. It is designed to be used at scale, internal to the site, as well as externally, at referring institutions, at community organizations, at private practices. It increases study awareness, information about specific enrolling studies, and provides all the communication and referral tools that are needed for anyone who uses the product. On the right-hand side is our web-based admin portal that is used by each research team to manage the content on its studies. As an example, at the University of Cincinnati, our UC Cancer research team manages the content published on the app about our UC Cancer studies. This provides the best possible content for the end user, and then the system also allows each research team to pull data out of the system to use it for performance improvement. This is just a little bit of data, but we are trying to break the 1 to 3 provider status quo. So this is one particular customer. You can see on the y-axis is their number of people with High Enroll over time, and you can see consistent growth. We already know that we are engaging exponentially more healthcare providers than what is status quo today. This is what we are launching this month. It's incredibly exciting. We all know how heterogeneous patient groups are in terms of their tech literacy, their health status, all kinds of different issues. And so we have been working hard on this with research, talking to patients at scale. But now, through the same portal that research teams are already using to push content out at scale to healthcare providers, they can now create some of the richest content about studies that's ever been done and push it out through multiple modalities, whatever suits their site, whatever suits the surrounding communities, and do it in real time. The research team can also more effectively collaborate with their own internal marketing teams, their own IRBs, to make this faster and bring them into the process. This is our business model. We contract directly with the sites themselves. The contracting process, if you start at the top and we move down, very fast and simple. I told you that we focus on making this easy for research teams to adopt. There's no PHI in the system, there are no upfront costs. So the cybersecurity concerns and having to come up with dollars out of the gate for research teams that run in the red are not issues. In terms of implementation, we get every interested research team at the site and its studies fully implemented in the system for free within 45 days, no delayed implementations. After the implementation period, new studies that are entered into the platform incur a one-time per study fee. Research teams build it into startup budgets, and then they upcharge study sponsors for it. The upcharge allows them to bring in a little bit of extra revenue to support their research teams and get them into the black. We actually know that we put research teams into the black just because of this model. The market for this is massive. There are 22,000 sites in the US, according to clinicaltrials.gov. We have 11 customers so far, and I can tell you we've got tons in contracting right now. We are in 8 states in the District of Columbia. You can see we've got some big ones like the entire Cleveland Clinic Foundation for the country, Henry Ford, Baptist Health South Florida, UC. And we are now scaling. So we'll be bringing on a bunch of academic institutions, very large community hospital networks, and smaller but premier sites. And then we're also launching a bunch of strategic partnerships. Here are some of them that are already in process that will help scale us out very quickly in 2023. How do we differentiate ourselves? Well, one is we focus solely on enrollment. That's the big, hairy beast of a problem, and we are tackling it from multiple angles. We understand it's a complex problem, so there are going to be multiple solutions required. We target a specific stage of the enrollment process. There are big upstream and downstream companies which are doing great things, but this sliver is largely untapped, and we are obsessed with user pain, empathy, and partnership. We come on site and we support remotely. We are a true partner in helping solve these problems. Our competitors, great competitors, but they don't do exactly what we do. They don't do it the way we do it. The next stage is what as we grow.
Time check, Dylan.
Yeah, this is my last slide. So as we grow our number of customers, we will begin to offer scalable, data-driven offerings to study sponsors. That's not only industry, but also the NIH, Department of Defense. They can better select sites, research teams, investigators, enrollment strategies. We will have unique data to date to do that. We can support their outreach into communities and target populations for issues, for example, regarding diversity, provide real-time enrollment monitoring, problem solving, and create really cutting edge. We're already creating the best content out there, but really engaging content for sites. And the market for that is obviously massive. So please reach out to me if you have any questions or if you see a partnership opportunity. We would love to speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. Great presentation. To remind everybody, so the presentations are 10 minutes, then we'll have about 5 minutes for the judges to ask questions, or I think there are some questions from the audience as well. So let's get started.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Tori.
okay, sorry about jumping on you, Susie. Quick question on revenue. Do you have any? What does it look like? Is it growing?
Yes, so we are post revenue. We hit our projections pretty much exactly. We're $4,000 off this year, but fundamentally hit it, and we're almost dead on in terms of our expenses. But yes, it's going to hockey stick up because initially we bring folks on for free, then they transition into paying. We also expanded the big sites. We're now scaling in terms of number of customers, and then we will be getting our first direct from pharma revenues in 2023. So it's,
Okay, razor blade number. How much revenue 2022?
we had 149,500. We predicted 154.
Okay.
Susie?
I had sort of the same question about revenue. I know you mentioned that you have 11 customers. Are those pilot sites? Are they official customers? Are they, if they are pilots, are they paid pilots? What are those customers? What does that customer mix look like?
All paying customers. They're not pilots.
Perfect. Okay. And then someone else asked in the chat, and I actually like this question too, is what kind of incentives are given for patients or participants that are enrolling? Is that based just depending on how the study is operating, or is there something extra that you do for that to incentivize patients?
So we help the site orchestrate their research enrollment activities. So we don't pay participants anything. Studies are typically designed to give some sort of reward. It can't be coercive.
Yeah.
But something to reward people for their time and energy and engagement.
Perfect.
Yeah, I had a question. So how do you maintain the integrity of the study if you're adding multiple sites? If it was normally 1 to 3 investigators and suddenly it's 50 to 60 investigators across multiple sites with different resources, how do you make sure the study integrity is being maintained, that each site is following the same protocol, getting kind of the similar data, or at least you're not confounding the data by having a broad number of sites?
So the unit here that uses the platform is the research team at the site. Now certainly there may be many sites obviously across the US that are doing the same study, and they will be able to sort of control what content they want to push out there. And obviously, so our system provides direct content to the right person at the site for, questions, that kind of thing. So there's some flexibility site to site in terms of the content. We will start to more systematically get content from study sponsors and then push it down to sites as well. But each research team gets to do that. We made the platform simple, so it's easy for them to maintain it. I do it for my own division, and it's easy. I do it during our regular meetings every 2 weeks. It takes me no extra time beyond what we did before. And I'm a pretty busy guy.
Any other questions?
One quick question. This just comes down to like defensibility, right? So if we're a venture capitalist and we want to invest in you, we want to make sure that your team isn't going to quickly get replaced by some other team copying you. What would be your response to the question of how defensible is this business?
So in terms of competitive advantage?
Yeah, like, do you have a bunch of patents that make it difficult for someone to try to do this, or is it momentum based? What prevents someone from just doing this better than your team?
Sure. So one thing so our competitive advantages, I would say, is one is sort of first mover. Our innovation program guides the technology too. There have been lots of companies that have misstepped. They get confused on who they're serving. The other thing is we're pretty well connected. So I mean, I've worked with Roy Collins at Oxford. I mean, all the sort of research leaders. I know Rob Califf, our FDA commissioner, Jessica Mega, Google, founder Verily is a good friend. So we're very, very connected to lots of people in this industry, which I think is important. And then our data will be quite unique to date because of the open piece of this platform, where once we have this network, we're going to be innovating very, very quickly because it's essentially a laboratory for better understanding recruitment science. So I think that's going to keep us ahead of the competitors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll actually have some IP at that stage. I mean, as we start to sort of get more into the analytics based off our data in this laboratory that we're creating.
Okay, so any other questions, or move on to our next presenter? So,
Thank
Gurpreet,
you all. I really appreciate it. It's a big deal.
Thank you, Dylan.